Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Virtual Church. My name is Lilly Kramer, and I am glad we can get together, even though we cannot be together. Today, our minister, the Reverend Jeff Briere, has some ideas about the unity in community. To light the chalice, a mashup of words from Patricia Winters and Robert Atkin. Giver of life and all good gifts, grant us wisdom to use only what we need, courage to trust your bounty, imagination to preserve our resources, determination to deny frivolous excess, and inspiration to sustain us through temptation. With resources scarcer and scarcer, I vow with all beings to consider the law of proportion. My have as another's have not. In the future, we have no doubt that preserving resources and allocating them on an equitable basis will be crucial to our life in a large community. We all have different reasons for gathering here each week, but we all have this much in common. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. For a prelude today, a traditional song, the melody of which can be traced to a Viennese tune from 1679, The More We Get Together, and this Raffi variant is performed by our mighty fine youth choir. Thanks to all the producers of our virtual services for creating a space for us to get together, sing together, laugh together, and create together. Go.
The more we get together, the more we get together, the happier we'll be. For your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. More we get together, the more we get together, the happier we'll be. For your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. The more we get together, the more we get together, the happier we'll be. For your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. The more we get together, the more we get together, the happier we'll be. For your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. The more we get together, the happier we'll be.
We will sing Loving Kindness next. Please light a candle to dispel the darkness, to honor someone or some event, or to bring light to a memory.
May we
My name is Jeff Briere, and I am the minister of this virtual church. I hope you are safe and well. Please remember to wear a mask in public, stay away from other people, and when it becomes available, get vaccinated. Today I'm going to preach about community. I intend this sermon to be a sort of a cheerleading effort, a rah-rah sermon, if you will, and it's all about your church community. When I decided to preach about a topic and I realized that I have to do a little research about it, I often start with a dictionary. I go to the dictionary to search for the root of the word, as far back as it can be traced, and see if there are any cognates of the word. A word has cognates, or relatives, and knowing about a word's relatives helps me to better understand the word's meaning. For instance, if I wanted to understand the concept of anguish, I go to the dictionary and find that the words anger, anxious, and angina are cognates of anguish. They're related because linguists can trace their roots all the way back to a language spoken about 5,000 years ago in Central Asia. Now, I know a little bit about community, and I understand the concept, and I bet you do as well. But I went to the dictionary anyway, and I found that community has many cognates. Communicate, communal, communist, communicable, communicant, communion, commute, commutate, communique, and that's actually French. Commonwealth and any other variation of common, like common sense and commonweal, all these are cognates of community. They are all related to common, and the root of common can be traced back 5,000 years to a word meaning to change. When that root was adopted into Latin about 2,500 years ago, it morphed into communis, meaning held in common or held in general. And with that, I can better understand the concept of community because I know more about the cognates of common. The way we use community right now does not really include the idea of change, but it certainly relates to something that people hold in common. Another technique I use to understand a word or a concept is to look at images that people create about that word. And this is only possible in the last 15 or so years with the advent of Google image search. If you Google the word community and specify images only, you'll get about 10 bazillion hits that people posted to the website and which they have in some way tied to the word community. And here are a few that I found. It seems that community has something to do with hands. I found many images of people holding hands, most often like this. But sometimes like this, or like this, and sometimes people are holding hands when they're on their way somewhere, they're traveling someplace. And sometimes the people seem to be reaching for something, or maybe they're dancing. People in a community usually pose before a white wall and look up at the camera. Organizations, especially junior colleges like the Walla Walla Community College, use the word community in their names. Theaters and other groups use the word community in their names. Community seems to have something to do with growing vegetables and herbs. And I found several images like this one that imply that a community is comprised of smaller groups and that all members of a community need not be in the same place at the same time. I learned that communities usually have a leader or someone at the center of things. And this image might be the most helpful in understanding community. I want you to take a good look at it. This is a cartoon drawn by Adam Ziglis, an editorial cartoonist for the Buffalo News. It was published on October 20th, 2006. A few days earlier that year, on October 12th, a very early storm surprised Buffalo with 24 inches of snow in less than 36 hours. It all melted away in 3 days, but its effects lasted for 3 weeks. Now, people in upstate New York know how to deal with snow, especially those people who live in Buffalo. It toppled many power lines, the storm did, and many people were without electricity for several weeks. The way I interpret this image is that firefighters, the police, medical personnel, the Army Reserve, the press, municipal employees, electrical workers, and anyone who shoveled snow or served coffee were stronger than a storm. Even the Buffalo Sabres, a hockey team, although I'm not sure what they did. The title of the cartoon is "The Buffalo Power Line That Never Went Down." In ice hockey, a power line is a group of 3 defensive players whose job it is to prevent the offensive team from scoring. I think that what Adam Ziglis is saying here is that these people should be commended for the selfless way that they serve the community. I think Ziglis is saying that these people represent the best in the community because they were not thinking about themselves, but about other people. I know this because he gave each member of this team a letter sweater that spells it out. COMMUNITY, community. This is like something my father used to say to me. When I would get a hangnail or a fever blister and I'd complain about it, Dad would always say, "Stop thinking about yourself, Jeff. Start thinking about other people." I can hear him now. And so for me, the most important attribute of community, that people serve the community, that they think of other people first and themselves second. It's also a good model for a church community. Some time ago, Kate and I watched an episode of Nature, and it prompted her to suggest to me that I preach about community. And she specifically mentioned the bees. The episode of Nature concerned the intelligence that seems to be created among animals when they swarm. Many creatures come together in inconceivable numbers, in millions, billions, trillions. Bats and bees, locusts, ants, cicadas, grunion in the Sea of Cortez, sardines off the coast of South Africa, super flocks of parakeets in the Australian outback, mayflies in this country on the 4th of July, and even penguins and wildebeest. They all swarm for one reason or another. Some gather to breed, some to migrate, some for protection, and some simply to keep warm in the cold. But in the process, a kind of superorganism is created in which individual intelligence is superseded by a collective consciousness that shares information and moves with a single purpose for the benefit of all. It's called swarm intelligence, and it's essentially a living embodiment of social media in the natural world. Perhaps you've heard the phrase crowdsource. That refers to gathering knowledge or experience from the crowd. Whatever the reason these creatures swarm, it's obvious to me that they are not thinking about themselves, but about the community. And that is what Adam Ziglis is saying in this image. And for me, That's the most important thing about community. I know a fella in Chattanooga, lived down the street from me. He was once the host of a radio talk show. He had a big mouth, and that's required for radio talk shows. And he had an even bigger sense of his own importance. He was eventually fired, even though the show was a commercial success. I recall vividly he said one day, he said something that stayed with me as he was describing his political philosophy. He admitted to being a libertarian, and he was asked to define that term. He said mostly libertarians don't want the government messing around in their business. He said, defend the borders, deliver the mail, and leave me alone. Defend the borders, deliver the mail, and leave me alone. I thought about that for a good long time. I wanted to call him up and ask him if he wanted the city to fill the potholes in the street, or if he wanted the police to defend his home against intruders, or if he really expected water to come out of the faucet when he opened it. So much of what we take for granted is provided by other people for the benefit of everybody. That's what a community is all about. I believe that we are built to live in a community, that humans do their best work with other human beings. Whether they want it or not, whether they like it or not, people need a community. For me, a hermit's life, a libertarian's life, is an aberration. I think that in this country, rugged individualism, after December 7th, 1941, well, it's an aberration. Now here, you have an excellent community. I know it, and I know that you know it too. You put on an excellent auction, and that takes a lot of people and a lot of time, and it makes some decent money. You produce excellent potlucks, and you offer an excellent summer camp. Your bills are paid, you have a 3-season deck, and a large hunk of land with a walking trail. What's not to love? Best of all, you are generous with your time, your talents, and your treasure. In my time here, you managed 4 outstanding stewardship campaigns in 4 years. We have yet to learn how this year's campaign will end. Now, community building like this doesn't happen just by itself. It takes time and talent and energy, 3 things that you have in abundant measure in this community. You get a gold star, a blue ribbon, and you take the cake. To keep it going, to develop it even more, take a lesson from the bees. They don't sting each other. They take care of their leader. They work for the good of the hive, not their own personal aggrandizement. Each bee's work may be different, but each bee is valuable. Now, this communal life doesn't inoculate the hive against a catastrophe, as recent colony collapses show. Even human beings acting with the height of selflessness still die from auto accidents or COVID-19, or war, or cancer. But I think you are doing a bang-up job. And remember, the Messiah lives among you. Once upon a time, life was very hard, especially in one small village. And in the village was both a convent and a synagogue. The abbess, Mother Martha, saw her community dwindling and the faith of the sisters shallow and lifeless. Life in the convent was dying. And so she went to her friend, Rabbi Wolf, and wept. And Rabbi Wolf comforted her and said, "There is something you need to know, my friend. In our community, we have long known that the Messiah is one of you." "What?" exclaimed the abbess. "The Messiah? One of us?" How can that be? It is so, said Rabbi Wolf. Mother Martha went back to her convent, wondering and praying, but comforted and excited. And once back in the convent, walking down the halls and in the courtyard, Mother Martha would pass a nun and wonder if she were the one. Sitting in chapel praying, she would hear a voice and look intently at a face and wonder if she were the one. And she began to treat all of her sisters with respect, with kindness, with awe and reverence. And soon her actions became quite noticeable. Sister Angeline came to the abbess and asked what had happened to her. And after some coaxing, Mother Martha told her what Rabbi Wolf said. Well, Sister Angeline began to look at her sisters much differently. The word quickly spread throughout the convent. The Messiah is one of us. The Messiah is one of us. In short order, the whole community was full of life, worship, kindness, and grace. Congregational life became rich and passionate, devoted, and the singing and services were alive and vibrant. And after their novitiate, when the sisters took their vows, they were told the mystery, the truth that their life was based on, the source of their strength and their life together. The Messiah is one of us. The convent grew and expanded into house after house, and all of the nuns grew in wisdom and age and grace before the others and in the eyes of God.
And in your travels, if you someday stumble across this place where there is life and hope and kindness and graciousness, you'll know the secret. The Messiah is one of us. Mahatma Gandhi said, if you don't see God in the next person you meet, it's a waste of time to look further. If we see God in each other and realize that God is infinite possibility and love, how could we not feel hope and kindness? Our time together is nearly finished, but our work is not done. May our spirits be renewed and our resolve strengthened as we meet the challenges of the week to come. Please help me close this service now. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. My name is Kim, and I am happy that you could join us for this service. Please come back whenever you like. We will post another virtual church service next Sunday. Please contact the minister or the caring team if you or someone you know needs help during this time. Our services are recorded in advance, so current events may move faster than our ability to address them in a timely fashion. However, you can find up-to-date information on local events, social justice issues, inspiration, and content for all ages on our Facebook page. For our postlude, Guerry brings us the song Undivided. This song is the result of a period of quarantine and political tensions. As you make your way through the week, remember that you are good. You are loved. We could all use a little work, and we're all in this together. Nothing left to say but yay, church.
You see, Billy got picked on in school for things he couldn't change. He tried his best to play it cool, but in the 7th grade, you either fit right in or you don't fit. That's just the hard truth. I wish I'd been a friend that Billy never knew. I think it's time to come together, you and I can make a change. Maybe we can make a difference, make this world a better place. Look around and love somebody. We've been hateful long enough. Let the good Lord reunite us. Build this country that we love is undivided. You either go to church or you're gonna go to hell. Get a job and work or you're gonna go to jail. Just wish we didn't think like that. Why's it gotta be all white or all black? And when we're gonna learn to try on someone's shoes sometimes, when we're gonna start to see from someone else's eyes, I think we ought to come together. You and I can make a change. Maybe we can make a difference, make the world a better place. Look around and love somebody. We've been hateful long enough. Let the good Lord reunite us. Build this country that we love is undivided. Oh yeah, undivided. Oh yeah. We're all the same to God. No matter what we get is love. I'm tired of looking left and right, so I'm just looking up. I think it's time to come together. You and I can make a change. Maybe we can make a difference, make the world a better place. Look around and love somebody. We've been hateful long enough. Let the good Lord reunite us till this country that we love is undivided. Oh yeah, undivided. Oh yeah. You either go to church or you're gonna go to hell. Get a job and work or you're gonna go to jail. Wish we didn't think